Hi, I am Lisa Bedford, the Survival Mom, and I am here with video lesson number 1 for how to make your very best ever emergency kit. And I would like to invite you just to settle in for the next 15 or 20 minutes as we go through the definition of an emergency kit and why I chose that particular definition, and then moving into what I call the 4 survival framework priorities. And I think that is going to help you decide what you want in your kit and the purpose that you have for your own kit. The number 1 complaint that I have gotten over the years when it comes to emergency kits, bug out bags, whatever, is it is way too heavy. And if you haven't done this yet, you need to maybe put a pause button here, or after this video lesson is over, get your bag, your backpack. In most cases, a lot of times people might have a crossbody bag or something similar, and weigh it completely empty, and then weigh it with whatever you currently have in your backpack. Because once you go through these 5 lessons, if you start, analyzing what you need and you're putting things in there and you're being really smart about it, but at the very end, ultimately on lesson 5, when your pack still weighs too much, you're back right where you started. So we don't want that to happen. So step number 1 is to determine how much weight is comfortable for you to carry. And don't assume that in a big crisis when your adrenaline's going crazy and people around you are nervous and panicking, that all of a sudden you're going to have some superhuman strength and be able to carry a 75-pound bag, walking 2 or 3 miles heading out of town, when in reality you can only comfortably carry maybe 25 or 26 pounds. So we want this to be the most practical kit that you could ever have. And in order to do that, it's based in reality. And one of those reality points is how much can you actually carry. I chose the words emergency kit because it's just so generic. An emergency kit can be something you just have in your car. It can be something small that you keep in your purse. Maybe that is your bug out bag. It's your get home bag, whatever you want to call it. I just chose emergency kit because it is so generic. And as you go through these 5 lessons, you'll be able to maybe add and adjust things according to the purpose of your bag. So if your purpose is, I want to have something with me in case I ever have to walk home from work, well, then you're going to be, putting some things in there that are a little bit different than a mom who is driving around town all the time with kids. She's going to have a different variety of things in her pack. So we're going to start with just a generic emergency kit framework, and then, of course, it's up to you to move on and outward. I think that the checklists and the worksheets that are part of this class are going to be a big help. Let's see. Emergencies tend to come out of the blue. And when that happens, your brain immediately is triggered. When it's a big enough, in a panic-filled situation, you're either going to flight, freeze, or flee. That was the same as flight. You're going to freeze, flight. Where are my notes? You're going to freeze, fight, or freeze. Okay, I usually don't go into the fight mode myself, so that's a little bit off, out of my radar. But when that happens, you need to have some things set in place right there that you can grab. You need to have a plan in place in your brain, maybe the one you've rehearsed a few times. So when there's a house fire, or when there's an emergency at work and everybody is racing to the exit door, if you have thought through some things and you physically practice and you have an emergency kit, you know what's in it, you are going to be way more prepared than anyone around you. Because the last thing you want to do is just panic and then forget that you had an emergency kit with you the whole time. So part of the process of these lessons is for you to be really thinking and rehearsing and analyzing, why do I need this in my kit? How would I use this? Can I find a multi-purpose item that would serve the purpose of 2 or 3 of the things and replace those in my kit? So this whole analyzation process is also just part of the mental rehearsal for when or if something does happen. I know that one it's amusing now looking back, but it wasn't funny at the time. When I think I might have mentioned when we were doing a DIY project. We were standing on concrete floors, and one of the very last steps was to put down this sealant. And the sealant instructions said, get plenty of ventilation, get some fans going, open your windows. We did all that, but we were in no way prepared for the level of fumes, to the point where my husband, who's extremely strong and fit physically, looked like he was going to pass out. And he said, Lisa, I'm going to pass out. We've got to get out of here. grabbed the kids, and for some strange reason, we managed to get pajamas, and I grabbed our sonic toothbrush. That was just the way my mind was working. I didn't have a kid. I'd never really processed what I would do in that kind of a scenario. And it reminded me a couple of years ago at some fires up at the Canadian town of Fort McMurray. You may remember this, or you're Canadian and maybe the memories are vivid for you. But panicked people after it was over, and this was a horrific wildfire, just horrific, with houses going down, residential areas in flames in just minutes. And I remember reading some of the funny things people grabbed in their panic. One woman talked about grabbing a package of American cheese. Someone else talked about grabbing ski clothes. Why? Well, it's because that brain was triggered and they really just weren't thinking clearly. So I don't want you to be in that point. So from this point forward, as we're putting things together and processing different kinds of emergencies and so on, you are not going to do that. You're not going to feel vulnerable and unsure of yourself. You're going to feel prepared. So the whole thing is a process. I know when I have put together different emergency kits, it's a process. You go back later and you say, why did I have that in there? You know, it's been packed for 5 years. I'm never going to use it. You know, what's going on? I needed this instead. So just don't think to yourself, once I get my kit, I'm going to stick it in the closet, I'm going to put it in the trunk and forget it. It really is something that you need to revisit. I'd say every 3 or 4 months, 6 months at least, so you can reassess it for the next season. Okay, a lot of times our first step is to go out and buy a prefab kit. That's not a bad thing, but the problem with a prefab kit is that it just kind of lulls us into a sense of complacency. We just think, oh, okay, I have my kit, it's in the trunk or it's in the closet, it's under the bed, we're good. The whole reason that I'm asking you to put together your best ever emergency kit is so you'll know what's in it and you won't just assume until it's too late that it has what you need. So I want to start first of all with something I call the survival priorities framework. And I'm going to put this up in front of the camera so you can see. And this framework has 4 priorities. It has over here lightweight, if you want a lightweight kit, a compact kit, depending on your size, what you might be physically able to carry, cost, and quality. And right in the middle, I just stuck the word time. These are the 4 priorities, and time is a factor. Time is going to be a factor. So if, as many people have said, lightweight is the number 1 priority, well, here's how that is going to work for you. Everyone wants a lightweight kit, but nobody wants to give anything up. That is what I have noticed kind of in the survival circles. In fact, I asked in the Survival Mom Bootcamp Facebook group, you know, what is your dream emergency kit? And so many people said, oh, I want it to be like Mary Poppins' bag, where I reach in and everything I need is in there and I'm just pulling everything out and it fits, it's compact, it's easy to carry, and that's just like a survival fantasy. I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? But the truth is you can only carry so much. And depending on your budget, you can only afford so much. If you're a smaller built person or you have some physical disabilities, you can only carry, right down here, compact, you can only carry just a certain size of gear. And then finally, quality. So all of these things all come together. What is your priority? So if your priority is cost and you want to be as cheap as possible, you can do that. You can actually accomplish that. It is going to take more time, most likely, because to find a good backpack, for example, you may have to go to yard sales and thrift stores. You may have to wait around until there's a really good, like a back-to-school sale. Actually, that's a good time to find good quality backpacks at decent prices. You can put together a kit on a budget, but just know that it is going to take some time just because you're looking for the least, the lowest price possible and packing it as, with everything that you possibly could use. Now, if lightweight is your priority, well, this is going to be a little bit different. With lightweight, you may be able, maybe time won't be quite the factor, but if you really want some things that are lightweight, my friend, I'm afraid you're going to have to spend money for it. Unless you're able to find things, again, at yard sales, maybe through Craigslist or something. When something is lightweight and it's designed that way, chances are it's going to carry a good price tag. I know years ago when my brother was really into backpacking, he wanted to have a very small and lightweight sleeping bag. Well, he found one. It was just a couple of pounds and it was perfect for the area that he was hiking up in Northern California, but I believe it cost at least $500. So if lightweight is your priority, you might, time, I don't know, time may be a factor if it takes you a while to find what you need. Cost, you're probably going to spend more money. If it's lightweight, well, what about the quality there down the bottom corner? If it's lightweight, chances are it's going to be a high quality if it's also a high price item. So it's up to you which one of these priorities is going to override all the others as you put your kit together. That is going to be a pretty important point as you begin to make decisions and you begin to look at the checklist that I'm going to give you over the next 4 lessons. I think compact, I think I touched on all 4 of these. So you want to assess your actual kit, and if it weighs too much, you're going to have some decisions to make. If you just have way too much stuff and your backpack is just overstuffed, like I have a backpack over here actually that is overstuffed, and you'll have to make some decisions. If you want a compact kit and it's comfortable to carry, if you're a smaller frame person, then you're going to have to make some decisions. I want to show you an example of this because I don't know of a more important survival supply than toilet paper. You may disagree, but at any given point in the last 10 years or so, we have had, I don't know, 100, 150 rolls of toilet paper because for some reason, that is what makes Lisa feel secure at home. If I have both bathrooms very well stocked with toilet paper, I'm a happy camper. However, imagine this. Now, this, as far as cost is concerned, is very cheap. It's just probably, pennies per roll, depending on where you buy it. This was at Costco. This was a Costco toilet paper. So if you look at this, it's definitely bulky. So if your priority is compact, you want a compact kit, this is not your friend. Cost, yes, if you want to get that kit put together as quickly as you can and as frugally as you can, hey, a roll of toilet paper is going to do the job. Now, you can also, you can use a half of this, you can wait until a half of a roll of toilet paper is gone and it's a whole lot smaller. And as you can see, I've taken out the center cardboard roll to make it, I can flatten it down some and put it in a Ziploc bag for a little bit of waterproof protection there. To make it more compact, the weight doesn't change. This is not that heavy, okay? If weight was a big issue to me, and I'm thinking, I just want something to get me through, maybe, I don't even know, a half a dozen, bathroom trips or something, then maybe something like this, a couple little packages of tissues, that might do the job. Very small, very compact. You can take it a step further and put your toilet paper through your a vacuum sealer. And this was I put this through my vacuum sealer a few years ago, and it is still airtight and waterproof, and it's good to go. So if compact is your priority, you can go from this to this, or you can just pack 2 or 3 or 4 of these, still smaller than this. And it depends on what your priority is. If you want quality, I don't know, Costco toilet paper is fairly high quality. You can also buy things over on Amazon. When I was looking through things that were, part of, toilet paper and figuring out, what are some options, there are plenty of different wipe kind of products there that you can take a look at. So that is how you kind of just assess your priority just for the one simple item of toilet paper. Now, really quick, let's take a look at light sources, because chances are you're going to add maybe two or three light sources to your pack. If you're looking for lightweight and if you're looking for compact and cheap, this might be your friend. This is just a little glow bar. It doesn't give off a whole lot of light, but it gives off some. And of course, you can buy light sticks that are bigger than this to give off a little more light than this little glow bar. However, if you want to take another step, this is the Lucy light. And I love the Lucy light. I've not blown this up to expand it, but it does expand to a nice size cylinder. It is solar powered, and the battery lasts a very, very long time. And you can see it's flat, it's lightweight. So if you're thinking, what kind of light source would I have? If I don't want a heavy mag light type, some of those big mag lights, they're wonderful for quality. And if you can carry the weight, and if it doesn't, tip your backpack weight, over, into the realm of weight, it's just too heavy for you, then maybe a Lucy light is what you need. And here's a tip for light. I may or may not include this in the lesson on shelter. I think I do, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. With your light sources, you want to have one source of light that's directional, and then one source of light that is ambient. So for example, if you're in some kind of a shelter and you need a source of light, a flashlight is okay, but a flashlight, the beam, it lights up a certain space, a certain area. When you have something like the Lucy light, it's going to light up a broad area, just an ambient light. And those are both very, very useful for, for survival and preparedness purposes. Between the two, I probably would go with maybe a good sized flashlight that has a nice broad beam. So I have directional and then I have a larger amount of ambient light. But still, directional ambient light, those are both good to have in your kit. So in your downloads, you actually have a printable. It's much more attractive than my whiteboard, but you have a printable that has all 4 of these priorities. And over, the coming, time period between now and lesson 2, which is on sanitation and sustenance, start thinking, if you had to make a choice, what order would these go in? If it's compact, then maybe this is your friend. If it's lightweight, well, I don't know, maybe toilet paper on its own is lightweight. This is lightweight and cheap and compact. So take a look at what is in your kit and say, if weight is the issue, then I want to know what in my kit weighs the most, and is there a way that I can find something to substitute that item that weighs a little bit less? And when it comes to packing up emergency kit, believe me, every little ounce counts. You don't think so until it's all together and you have everything in all of my 8 categories. I don't know if I can remember them all off the top of my head, but I know there's sustenance and there's sanitation and sanity, strength, physical strength, and so on. So I want you just to print this out, be ready for lesson 2, which is all about something called the bullseye, that I think is going to bring a lot more clarity to you in deciding what do you actually need. And I'm going to tell you a funny story in that lesson about the time I carried around fishing gear for a few years in the Phoenix desert. And why I did something so crazy. So thanks for joining me on lesson 1, and I want you to enjoy the remaining lessons and get that best ever emergency kit packed.